We had a caregiver recently who had filed an abuse report, and that family terminated them immediately. And the right thing to do is take care of that DSP. They did what was right. They did what's required by law. So we have to take care of our people. And so what we did is we paid her 2 weeks. Like she didn't have any more PTO, but I paid her out 2 weeks so that she had no financial hardships. And we paired her with another family within that 2 week period so that she didn't have any lost revenue days. So I just think, and ultimately what happened to her? She felt heard, she felt seen, she felt valued. She has been singing our praises. She's not going to go anywhere. She's not going to go anywhere, you know? And I think that if you do that with a lot of your employees, you don't have to give them 2 weeks paid. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But if you empower your team and you give them a voice and you hear what they're saying, and then you work with them to give them work-life balance and all of these different benefits, they're not going to go anywhere. Now, let's pause for a second, because there will always be somebody who will chase that dollar, right? There will always be someone who's willing to, someone's paying $1 more, they're going to go there. But I've lived by the mantra that who's meant to be with me will be with me and who's not won't. And I just have to trust in that, right? For the majority, I would say, when they're feeling valued and heard and respected, and they're giving good pay and benefits that they can not only use, but they can afford, they appreciate that. And they won't leave.
Welcome back to another episode here on the Hart Hustle Podcast. You bet on yourself and left the path to build something else. Take us back to that moment, the real run, where you knew, I can't keep doing it their way anymore. What does that feel like, Jill? Talk to us.
Yeah, so there's a defining moment. I had spent nearly 20 years working with seniors and disabilities, and I'd worked my way up to the top where I'm a VP, and I'm sitting at the table, and I'm surrounded by people who are making 6-7 figures, and we're having a conversation on whether or not we could pay an employee $13 an hour. And to me, it was a no-brainer. But we were having this conversation. And it was that moment that really just kind of occurred to me that companies could do better. They just choose not to. And it was kind of disheartening because I was really passionate about where I was and what I was doing. But it also empowered me to recognize that changes could be made and I could be the one to make them. So closed my eyes, held my breath, and I jumped. And here we are today.
Here we are. And so you just told us when you first realized how caregivers were treated. Mm-hmm. But you talked about you took that jump. What scared you most about leaving the role and really building your own thing?
I think it was my ego. You know, I spent such a long time developing a career. And, you know, as a female in many industries, our voices weren't heard very much. And I was oftentimes maybe one or two females at a table. And so my ego had to be put into check first, because that was really the only thing holding me back. I'd worked really hard for that title, you know, but when it boiled down to it, I don't live for the title. I live to make a difference.
True. What should you have been really scared of?
Not having money, being broke, failing. You know, I kind of live by a mantra that failure is not an option for me. It never has been an option for me. So I think I should have been scared of failing. I should have been scared of not making enough money to take care of my family and myself. But I wasn't.
Yeah. I'm happy that you were you weren't really the fly on the wall because you were in the meeting, but we're hearing some of these conversations that are really happening. And I'm always a big believer that you go into these companies and you always got to say, what's in it for me? And that was what's in it for you. It was that moment. Like, oh, there's an educational piece that I needed in my life, right? And that's what really kind of made you take that leap of faith. What are some of the things, we talk about some of the things you should have been afraid of, but what are some of the things that you are very proud of today? Because it is a very lonely world, right? There's not a lot of people that think like you, friends, family, significant others that can't really hold that conversation. But I can imagine you look back and say, you know what, while it was the roller coaster of my life, this is what I'm so happy about today. What is that?
I am super proud of myself for recognizing that I could make change and trusting in myself to do it. I lived in that corporate will for so long. Even at the age of 35, I had a stroke because I was working so hard. And I never gave myself grace, and I never gave myself work-life balance. And when I finally trusted in myself and was able to make that transition, it brought peace and it brought joy. I mean, and that's kind of why my name is named Joyful Connections. I was actively searching for joy in my life, and what I was doing was not bringing that. And so I had to trust in myself, and I'm incredibly proud of myself for trusting in myself and not listening to the naysayers and not listening to the norms that people often have when you're making big changes. So I'm really proud of myself for trusting in myself.
I'm very proud that you trusted in yourself. It is not easy at all, right? People want to do it, and they have these dreams, these ideas of doing it, but then there's those like yourself that took the leap of faith, put it in God's hands. If this is for me, it's going to be for me. If I fail, I learn and I do better next time, right? Mm-hmm. You've been blessed. You didn't fail. You've actually kind of probably succeeded your own belief in yourself.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I never thought I would ever have grown a company to be the large as it is. And I used to joke, and I've stopped saying this because now I believe what you say or what you put out there is your reality. But I used to say, gosh, what are they going to do when they find out I don't know what I'm doing? And I've been reassured that I do know, in fact, what I'm doing, and that I am a strong, capable leader within my organization and within my industry. But that was kind of my little joke that I had was, I am someone who comes from very meager means, and, I don't have the typical upbringing, and I don't have the typical schooling that one would have to run organizations like what I have. And so I have truly been blessed. Not to get all biblical on everybody here, but there's a verse that really struck to me, and it's about trust, right? And it says, you don't see the birds, and I'm just paraphrasing, you don't see the birds out there, worrying about what they're going to eat next or where they're going to live. And if God loves you more than he loves the birds, then why are you worrying, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of been a mantra of myself that I've had as well, is just in that whole trust piece. I just got to trust myself, trust that things are going to work out, and it does.
To what you were just saying on the joke, right, that you were saying to yourself, that's really comes from imposter syndrome, and a lot of times when I always looked at it, right, when I took that leap, I felt like I was in this dark tunnel. I could see the light. I just didn't know how far that light was, so I had to keep going. I had to have that faith. I got to have patience. But there was times I would go to bed and think just like you were thinking, what the hell am I doing? Mm-hmm. Am I even good? Can I coach others? Mm-hmm. I mean, mind you, I'm already doing the work, right? But same thing, educational piece, because I didn't go to school for a career. I did go to school, but that's only because I wanted to show my kids they had options. Yeah. But I was already building businesses at 22 years old. So for me, I realized like it's not so much about black and white pieces of paper. It's the worth ethic you can put in. Mm-hmm. It's a leadership, because I can imagine that you have great leadership, Jill, which is why you're successful. But imposter syndrome is the thing that eats us alive. Do you feel that, were you going through those moments a lot where you were just kind of doubting yourself? And how did you overcome them?
I actually did go through quite a bit of imposter syndrome, not at the beginning, but kind of midway through, like when everything was established and it was a well-oiled machine and it's operating. That's when I'm like, oh God, I'm in too deep, right? Like, what if they don't know, or what if they find out I don't know what I'm doing? Again, I had to train myself how to talk to myself. And I think that's something that a lot of people have, that they're working on these days, right? Is we tend to say a lot of negative things about ourselves that aren't true. But if we continue to say them, we'll make them be true, right? And so whenever that imposter syndrome came in, I just have to look around. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I do is I keep a kudos file. So every kudos that I have ever had, and this is so cheesy, I'm almost embarrassed to say this because this will be public, but I have a kudos file from like the beginning of my career. And I have kept every email from every company I've ever worked for, including my families now and my employees now. And any praise that they've given me, I've kept that. And anytime I started to feel like, what am I doing? I'm not doing what's right, or this isn't working out, or I don't have the skill set, I go through my kudos file. And there's nothing about filling your love cup better than having, reading those words again.
Wow, I actually like that. That is, first of all, not cheesy, right? We always got to fill our cup somehow, and you found a way to fill your cup. Because in the roles that we're in, we are the ones that pour into everybody's cup, and sometimes left out dry. And people don't see that because we still show up smiling faces, wanting to help, even when we're the ones that actually need the help. So I actually love that. And what I've done, my wife says I'm a little hoarder. Okay. I don't think so, but I also keep things. I don't have a file, but I have these letters or the birthday cards, or when I left somewhere, those cards. And yeah, you leave with those, because one of the biggest things when I left, I remember my supervisor saying, and the crazy thing is that me and him weren't seeing eye to eye when I was on my way out, but he says there was a kind of a layoff, right? There was all these instructors had to go. He says, how to everybody, there was at that time, I think like maybe almost 10 of us, you're the only one that I'm not worried about. And that, even though we weren't seeing eye to eye, I felt that, like, man, thank you. On my way out, you showed me that I have value, or you told me that you see my value, but for whatever reason, you just didn't see it while I was in, the role. And that's usually what happens, but you do have to take those moments. I tell you another one. I was speaking to Chief Development Officer from Subway. He's retired now, but I had the privilege to do Undercover Boss, but I still speak to this gentleman, right? And one of the things, and sometimes people got to tell you the way it is, I was building this brand, right? The podcast and the coaching and consulting, the journals that I've been creating, and still asking myself, like, what do I charge? Like, am I doing the right things? And he says, Brian, I've seen you build brands over the years. It's crazy how people need what they teach best. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, you're teaching people to know their worth. When do you know yours? When do you actually start to value your time? And that was the light bulb, right? But for so many years, I'm pouring into everybody's cup. I'm telling them exactly what to do, to the T. But there's times where we have to kind of go back and hear some of those people out. Go back to those messages and notes. And I'm happy that you found something, especially during that dark time, like in the middle of it, where it's like, okay, how the hell do I get over this? Because I got something here. I see it. But if I stay here, I'm never seeing that tunnel, right? I've never seen the light at the end of the tunnel. I'll just stay here just looking at the light. So, Jill, this is so good. We're already starting off to a good start. I like it. You know what's really rare is that you could have actually turned this into a nonprofit, but you chose the for-profit model instead. Was that a hard call? And what freedom did it give you that people might not even realize?
I think I didn't realize the freedoms that it would give me going for profit versus nonprofit. And what I mean by that is it's allowed me to truly invest more into my people, meaning I have more revenue coming in so that I can give, better pay, more benefits, employee recognition, employee events, all these different things that I wouldn't have the financial ability to do to reinvest in my people and really help them feel what our culture is about. I wouldn't have the financial abilities had I gone nonprofit. Now, there's nothing wrong with going nonprofit. I actually probably would have gone nonprofit if I would have known better, but I didn't. And so I found myself down this path, and I've just been so blessed to be able to recognize where I'm at and then take that and one-up it for my employees, to make a difference within my industry, to set a standard of expectation that my caregivers or other caregivers that are out there should expect from their employers. So I feel very fortunate to kind of go on the path that I went, because I have been able to change some lives, make the difference that I was looking to make.
Before you're making the biggest impacts as you are today, did Jill always want to be in this field? Like healthcare was her thing?
I've always had a heart for service. I've always had a heart for the underdog, or the perceived underdog, I should say, right? And when I started out working with seniors, I was incredibly passionate about that, helping give quality of life at end of life, making sure that, the individuals that we were supporting and serving were still treated with dignity and respect and recognized for the incredible works that they did in our world. Transitioning to Joyful, and we started out working with kids, and, it hit another piece of my heart. I guess my heart's in all these little compartments because it hit a whole nother piece of my heart, and was very fulfilling to me So I don't necessarily think when I was a little girl, this was the vision that I had for myself, but I did know that I wanted to make a difference. And that is what truly leads me, is that I am called to make a difference.
What's so special about your leadership skills compared to others that you just give yourself kudos for time and time again? Because you've seen other leaders. We always have good leaders and bad leaders in our lives, and they both teach us. They teach us what not to do and what to do. What are some of the leadership skills that you've kind of taken from other people that you just are proud of?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head when you said, some of life's greatest teachers are those good leaders and those bad leaders. You got to learn from both of them, and you got to be open to learning from both of them as well. And I think what I learned most is the idea of giving grace and understanding the why behind things, right? The caregiving or the healthcare industry for me, and in my opinion, has always been one that was more fear-based managerial styles. And I had been on the opposite end of that, where I was, fearful of my job and fearful if I didn't do the next thing right. And I was always told, it doesn't matter what you do today, it only matters what you do for me tomorrow, right? And through all of that, I learned to give grace to myself, grace to the people that I surround myself with, grace to my employees, grace to my families. And to me, grace is a gift. I don't think people often take time to ask why or understand what's going on the opposite end of that table. And I think when you have a relationship and you can develop grace, you can understand a little bit more about what people are going through. And if you can afford people grace, they'll afford you grace. And we're all human. So I'm going to mess up. Always do. Not always. A lot of the time I mess up. But, I hope that if I give them grace in a time where they mess up, instead of being a fear-based managerial style, taking the hammer down, I hope that when I make a mistake, they'll give me grace too.
100%. No, I love that. I do agree. When you could listen to people, and sometimes I would say the term of meet them where they're at. Today's not a good day.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I get it. Is there anything I can help you with? Right. That just in itself shows that someone cares. And a lot of times that's all someone wants to do. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be loved. Right. And that's what you bring to the table. And I'm giving you grace, because I get that every day. Life be life sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
We don't know that your kids were up all night last night and you couldn't sleep. They're sick. We don't ask those questions. But it does make a difference when someone, as their boss, their leader, says, hey, is everything okay? Is there anything I can help you with? I realize something may be a little off, right? All of a sudden, and you open that door for them to say, hey, I'm sorry, but this is what's going on, right? And now you can kind of help in that situation. So I love that. I love that you learned that and you brought that into your everyday.
Yeah.
Joyful. I love the name. So joyful comes because you just wanted to feel joyful? Like, then change the wording a little bit. So how did that all come about?
Okay. Well, this may be more than you want to know. But so joyful is spelled Joie, which is how you spell joy in French. And I thought I was French. Turns out I'm not. So the name just kind of stuck. But for me, it was all about finding joy, right? Like I started a mission 6 years ago that joy needed to be the first and foremost thing that happens in my life to give me fulfillment. And then bringing that on to my families and my employees, I wanted them to find joy, even if it's just a moment. We got to actively look and find the joyful moments in each and every day. And, my hope is that through joyful, we'll make connections that bring you joy. So that's kind of where we came from. I get a little corny about all of this, but truly I am led to find joy and inspire joy in others. And yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
So first of all, I want to say the most corniest ideas become the multi-million-dollar companies, right? Because it's so corny, but so good. I think this is so good. I don't want to say corny. Maybe you think so, but I think it is good. And then one of the other pieces you kind of put together is that caregiver and family matching piece. Not corny at all. Like, what was that something you knew would be did you know this would be a game changer from day one, or did it kind of evolve into this?
No, what I knew was that first of all, the healthcare industry has extraordinarily high turnover conversions. We're looking at 45, 50% conversion in caregivers. And statistically, caregivers are often underpaid, overworked, put in environments that they aren't prepared for, or they don't feel successful in, or they don't have the tools to be successful in. So for me, our pairing process really came down to identifying ways that could empower my employees to make choices that were best for them. Right. So it was empowering and giving them a voice. And so our pairing process, instead of just saying, today you're going to go see Bob and you're going to stay with Bob, and you don't know Bob, but you're going to go be with Bob, we really broke it down to a more in-depth process where we're really looking at a multitude of factors before we even introduce. First things first is we share bios with the DSPs or our caregivers so they can choose who's going to work best with their lifestyle, with their experience, with their personal interests and likes. And then we share them with the families. And we're really looking for a few different items here. We're looking at your experience. We're looking at your schedule. We're looking at proximity. We're looking at your personal interests. Like if you like playing basketball and the kiddo likes playing basketball, let's see if we can make that a match, right? So just kind of taking a more mindful and thoughtful approach in how we connect families can help us reduce that turnover, increase longevity. There we go. I got that out. And develop stronger relationships.
Okay. And then how about most agencies are actually drowning out here, but not you. You're actually thriving. I think the last time we spoke, you were at a 3% rate. Like, what's the biggest lie? Because now I hear all the time that we can't keep people, right? But you're showing different. What's the biggest lie that companies tell themselves about why their people are actually leaving? Because clearly it's not bothering you, son.
I think I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. I think companies can do better. They just choose not to. Sometimes we've got to stop thinking about our own pockets, and we got to start thinking about other people's pockets and how we're going to take care of other people, right? If you put your employees and your families first, that bottom line is going to follow every single time, my CPA is talking to me a lot about, 85% of your revenue goes to payroll. And that's exactly how I want it.
If the Hart Hustle Podcast has ever sparked any idea or made you think differently, do us a favor. Make sure to guys share this, post it on LinkedIn, or even text that nonprofit friend that you just have. Whatever works, this is what keeps the conversation going and allows us to just grow this community together. Seriously, we appreciate you. Let's talk about some of these benefits. 120 hours PTO. There is no fault policies, tuition help, not normal at all in some of these places. Did you actually get pushback? It looks like maybe you have, for being too generous. And what did you actually learn from being too generous? Like maybe a story where caregivers shocked you by showing exactly why betting on people is worth it.
Yeah, I have gotten a lot of pushback on how generous I am, but that's me, and I'm not going to change me. And I was actually struggling with this recently because, I want to continuously give and do more. And sometimes I have to pump the brakes a little bit, but I think I'll give the most recent example that I have that I can think of. And I don't know if you were going to talk about this later on, but we'll bring it up now. We had a caregiver recently who had filed an abuse report, and that family terminated them immediately. And the right thing to do is take care of that DSP. They did what was right. They did what's required by law. So we have to take care of our people. And so what we did is we paid her 2 weeks. Like she didn't have any more PTO, but I paid her out 2 weeks so that she had no financial hardships. And we paired her with another family within that 2 week period so that she didn't have any lost revenue days. So I just think, and ultimately what happened to her? She felt heard. She felt seen. She felt valued. She has been singing our praises. She's not going to go anywhere. You know? And I think that if you do that with a lot of your employees, you don't have to give them 2 weeks paid. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But if you empower your team and you give them a voice and you hear what they're saying, and then you work with them to give them work-life balance and all of these different benefits, they're not going to go anywhere. Now, let's pause for a second, because there will always be somebody who will chase that dollar. right? There will always be someone who's willing to, someone's paying $1 more, they're going to go there. But I've lived by the mantra that who's meant to be with me will be with me and who's not won't. And I just have to trust in that, right?
Mhm.
For the majority, I would say, when they're feeling valued and heard and respected, and they're giving good pay and benefits that they can not only use, but they can afford,
Mhm.
they appreciate that. And
Yeah.
and they won't leave.
I would deepen kind of to what you were saying on loyalty, right? Creating loyalty. What you do is create loyalty. When you show up that way for others, now people are going to be loyal for you and show up when you least expect them to show up. And I had a friend that he worked for this company. He did not know he had to do open heart surgery. Went for what he thought it was just going to be an easy procedure. Realizes open heart surgery. He's out for months now. And I spoke to him, and like you mentioned, all he did was praise the company. He says they told me I can take the next 3 months off, but I'm trying to get there like quicker. And I'm like, why? They give you the time. He's like, I just feel so bad, but I can't believe they did that for me. And I asked him, I'm like, man, you're so talented. Like you never thought about doing X, Y, Z. He's like, I love it here, and they care for me, and I get to just live the life that I want, knowing that I work for someone that cares highly of me. I will never leave. That's his words. I'll never leave. And I can imagine, Jill, that's exactly what people are saying. I will never leave. Jill showed up to me in a time where I didn't expect her to show up. Why would I leave? You know, even if they leave for $1, they're gonna come back because the way you made them feel.
And that happens.
Right? I know.
That happens. I think beyond that, the bigger picture is the better I take care of my employees, the better they take care of the people they serve.
True.
Right?
True,
and
yeah.
with us having such a reduced turnover, that empowers my families and the individuals they're serving to really establish solid relationships that build on trust and growth. And what does that mean? That means the individuals we serve are able to break down different barriers and grow and develop skills that they didn't know they could develop and reach those goals that they've created for themselves. And it's a beautiful ecosystem, right? Like if I take care of my people, imagine the ripples that we'll have down the road and how these individuals we serve, how their lives could change. That's
Yep.
cool.
No, 100% agree with you. Let's say I'm a new founder.
Mhm.
I want to start my own business.
Mhm.
And I ask you, what is the secret to building trust when you're small and scrappy? What's the first thing you actually tell them?
Oh gosh, I think consistency and transparency, right?
Why was that so important to you?
Consistency is they understand and they know they can count on you, right? If I'm consistently there, I'm consistently doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. And transparency also kind of layered on top of that, when they know my inner workings and they know me, again, that transparency piece and communication, they're going to get grace, right? But that consistency piece, that's the first, that's the base, right? You're consistently there, you're consistently showing up and showing them that you're there for them and whatever aspect it is. That starts building the trust, right? And then the next layer is that transparency, when they see that you're human and that you're not a black and white textbook and that you are just a little bit different. That transparency and that communication piece, that another layer of trust right there, right? So this layer.
You got it all. You got it all. You got it all, Jill. I'm loving it.
I don't know if I do, but we sure try.
No, you do. You're doing amazing. Well, another thing that I think you're doing amazing on, we spoke about, when I say AI, people start to really freak out because they're like, oh my God, my job is being replaced, or it's all over my phone and they want to steal my identity. Like there's so many different things that people are saying about AI. But even in the caregiving, it's kind of a space you don't hear it often. But you got curious, right?
Mm-hmm.
What shifted your mindset on AI, and what is Joyful Connections doing in the AI space that enhances what they're doing on a day-to-day?
Yeah. So I view AI truly like a team member that enhances what we do. You've heard the saying, like, 2 heads are better than one. Well, AI is like a zillion heads on top of it, right? So we utilize it for idea generation, strategy, how to refine our communication. Even for some of my young leaders who maybe they are new in a leadership role and they're not quite sure how to communicate.
It's Monday.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. They're not sure how to communicate a particular scenario, maybe it's a difficult conversation, we've gone into using AI to help us strategize and refine our talking points and help us kind of go to the next level. It's actually very exciting, because I do view it like, gosh, there's so many different minds within AI that can help us cultivate and create strategy.
You know what's funny is today I decided to use ChatGPT. I'm trying to scale, right? And I'm hiring a virtual assistant. So I got to start to put a lot of these things into play. So I said, if I tell ChatGPT my day and what I do on a day-to-day basis, and so it would create a lot of these things, right? Because data is what you put in, is what you prompt it. So I'm so excited. And I even asked, like, I had like 20 minutes and my wife wanted to go for a walk. And I asked ChatGPT just jokingly, I have 20 minutes. My wife wants to go on a walk with the kids. Should I go? All right. Like, just to see what it responded. And I said, this is great. You know, take that walk. It balances energy, X, Y, Z. So here I am at the high telling my wife, like, oh my God, ChatGPT's been so helpful. Like, it's really structured my day. Made me wake up early because it said I need to start wake up early based on what I do. So she says, I feel like you're almost idolizing this. You can't idolize this. And I'm like, I got so upset. I'm like, no, it's a tool. Like, what do you mean? It's helping me. It's giving me structure. Like, a lot of, when it comes to CEOs, owners, founders, you're in this world alone at times. How great is it that you can talk to someone that speaks your language? You know, it's not about idolizing anything, you know?
Right. I mean, just to, like, sometimes when my brain is completely exhausted and I'm like, I need more recruitment. So how do I do that? You know? So then I'm like, I need you to create me a recruitment strategy, and like, here's the information, and away it goes. But you know what else we recently started using AI for that's really been incredible is it helps us bridge our language barriers. We have multiple families who English is not their first language. And I'll give the example. We have a Spanish-speaking bilingual care coordinator and lead DSP. And we, aside from having them rewrite all of our collateral or all of our policies and procedures in Spanish, I can upload a document into AI and it will translate it for me. Now, again, you still got to have your people read it over and make sure that it's translating correctly. But it takes the majority of that hard work out. And what did it do? It completely bridged the language barrier and created documentation, trainings, policies and procedures in Spanish so that everybody feels included and understood. And gosh, that just changes everything.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
With so many AI tools, what do you think would be, like, if you could think about joyful connections, taking yourself to the next level, communication engagement, website, whatever that looks like, what is the AI tool that you would like to see to enhance what you're already doing at Joyful Connections and scale you?
An AI tool, it is very scary. Now, I'll tell you this is a very, very scary piece, but I think, again, it is so helpful. I'm going to regret saying this. I know I am. But the AI tool is, you can take a video of yourself and make that video speak in a different language too.
I can imagine it's probably out there. But that is really good. It is needed. When you think about podcasts, just imagine this translated into Spanish. Now we're really giving some resources, you know, so I can imagine it's out there. It is very, very scary to think that it's possible, right? Especially how about if our words are moving to, like, you know what I mean? That's kind of scary. But I see people, I have someone that records, and he does teleprompter, a lot of teleprompters. His eyes, when he's reading, obviously looks like this, but when he posts it, his eyes are looking down the camera, the barrel of the camera the whole time, because AI straightened his eyes to look straight the whole time. I'm like, wow. I
mean, it's a fine line. It's a very fine line between awesome and not so awesome, right? Very fine line. But I do think that there is a lot of value if you utilize it as a tool, and that you are open to the different references and information that you can get from it. I think that it truly can change the dynamics in your strategy. And again, I just keep thinking, like, think about how many heads are in AI. There's a lot of heads. That's a lot of information.
I mean, it makes me, to me, I think I'm smarter now, to be quite frank. Like, I don't, like, I got books back here. You probably don't see them, but they're for decorations because I really don't read. However, I'm reading a lot of ChatGPT in the conversation that we're having because that's how I love to learn is
Mhm,
conversational, like
mhm,
actually doing it.
mhm.
So yeah, I kind of what you said, that tool, I tell my wife exactly that. Babe, no, it's not. I'm not idolizing this thing, but it's a tool in my toolbox.
Mhm,
Like it truly is helping me stay organized. I hear that
mhm.
all the time where people says, I'm really good at what I do. I just need structure. I need someone
Yeah.
to tell me what to do. Well, guess
Mhm,
what? ChatGPT can be that for you
mhm,
if you understand how to utilize it though.
mhm.
And I think that's where replacement shows up. People are scared of their jobs because AI is going to take it over. I think be afraid of your job because someone that understands AI
Mm.
will take it over.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see like IT roles, you're going to see
Mhm,
AI, within
mhm.
companies. So I think
I don't know. I
companies really
think
need to start thinking about it.
think of it this way also. AI can come up with the plans and strategies, but I still need someone to execute on that,
That's part two. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
100%. Yep.
So,
Unless you're going to create some automation or something.
yeah, yeah.
No, we can go on this forever. I truly love that you're into the AI space, and I can't wait to see what AI does for your business. But when you think about some of the biggest things that really just make you happy, because I think when with the line of work you're doing is truly impactful, right? You're changing lives, and whether you believe it or not, the people that you've hired are changing lives out there, and you're the leader that's
Absolutely.
kind of controlling that. Well, what are some of the great things that you've seen thus far within your company, but also some of the things that you want to implement at your company for the next 5, 10 years to continue to see growth?
Mm. Gosh, there has been so many incredible moments that we've witnessed and that we've seen and that we've contributed to. Um, Whether it's an individual's personal growth and achieving things and having movement that maybe they never had before because we had a caregiver that was truly invested,
Mhm.
or we just recently, this last Saturday was the Portland Autism Walk, and Joyful Connections has paid for every autism walk in the state of Oregon so that it's free to everybody. So
Mhm.
creating opportunities is one of the biggest pieces of our puzzle, and creating or removing those barriers so people can go out and engage. And if it's a financial barrier, Joyful's removing that. And so I'm just really very pleased with how we show up. It's not just about me and my leadership team. We show up. We're in the community. We recently became a investor and a partner in a preschool that was being shut down, and this preschool supports individuals of all abilities, and we've funded them, so now that preschool's still there, and there's more and more kiddos that get to go to school that get to have inclusion with neurotypical and non-neurotypical individuals and engage differently. So for me, I'm incredibly proud of my team, my people, how Joyful's shown up in our communities and the difference that we're making, both on a personal one-on-one level and at a community level. As for 5-year plan, I I toss that one around a lot. I have lots of visions and ideas and really cool things that I want to put out there. I don't know if I'm ready to say them out loud
Okay, okay. Keep it. Hide. It's okay. It's okay.
though.
I'll connect with you on LinkedIn to make sure that I actually see what's actually coming out of this. No, I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you have a plan, and it is true. I think a lot of people sometimes may say a little too early, and may not get the response that people want, and it kind of detours that idea, right? So you got to be very mindful of who you tell your dreams to, because someone may say that's crazy, but it wasn't their dream to begin with. But what it does is start to instill a little doubt. So I hear you, Jill. I hear you for sure. No. This has been a great time. I can't believe that we're already 36 minutes into this conversation. By the way, I felt we started 10 minutes ago, and we're really at the end of this all. So I ask you: is how could people connect with Joyful Connections? Whether it's a website, whether it's sharing, like people think when helping means you need money.
Mm,
Not true. How
mm.
does Joyful Connections outside of monetary um, could use help?
Oh, how could Joyful Connections outside of monetary use help? Um, that is one good question. I have never thought of that question before. Um, you know what? I'm going to go back to what my vision is for this company. The way that people can help Joyful is if you're in this healthcare industry, level up, do better.
Come on now. What's wrong with you?
Invest in your people, because you know what? You're making it really hard. You're making it really hard. Caregivers have left this industry and they're never coming back because they were so brutalized. So the one
Wow.
thing that I need at Joyful Connections, the help that anybody can be out there, is let's take care of our people.
Yeah. This, come on, listen, you're so good. When we started this, Jill, the funny thing was that we're like, we don't know what we're going to say. I can't wait for you to watch this back because you're probably not going to remember what you said. What you are going to do is watch it back like, damn, that was good. I said that because you truly drop so much gems in here when it comes to those in the healthcare space. And you hit it on the head. So many people are leaving. Pandemic allowed people to see their worth, that they could do other things and make more money and not be kind of thrown in what the pandemic looked like for us.
Yeah.
But it was also because they felt undervalued, underpaid, all these different things. Is really the reasons they left. It wasn't the pandemic. That was what broke the camel's back, per se, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely hear what you're saying on that. So now it's time for that blind question. If you can go back and whisper one truth to yourself right before you took that leap to build Joyful Connections, what would you actually say to yourself?
The one truth that I would say to myself.
I love that I got you thinking during this
You do.
podcast.
You have me thinking. I'm just going to go back to trust. Just trust.
Trust the process.
Just trust. It will all work out in the end. You just got to trust in yourself, right?
You mentioned, and we don't get too deep into it, but you mentioned kind of the spiritual side of it. Do you lean on that often when you make these type of decisions?
Yeah, I think that I do. I do lean into my spirituality and understanding that there's a whole lot more out there than just me. And Lord knows I need all the help I can get. So just trusting that it'll all work out however it's meant to be, and having peace and joy in the process.
Love it. What is your blind question for the next leader that we have here on the Hart Hustle Podcast?
I wrote it down. What's your go-to mantra or catchphrase that always helps you power through those tough moments?
Okay. Mine's for a very long time was faith. That's all I kept telling myself. Faith, and it's part of the process. Faith, and it's part of the process. Because as you mentioned, when the things get tough, it's part of the process. Nothing easy or nothing success just doesn't come easy, right? We see success a lot on social media and it looks so easy. But in reality, they've had sleepless nights. While some people like to call it lucky, some of those people, that's their life, their whole life. Years and years of giving it all, and then that happens. So I have to keep telling myself it's part of the process. Faith, just have faith, right? So I love that you mentioned that. Where can people continue to follow you? Whether it's you personally, whether it's more of the Joyful Connections, talk about the website. Are you on social media, LinkedIn?
So our website is www.joyfulconnections.com. And again, that's spelled JOIEFUL, connections with an S.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. That's pretty much where I'm at too. But I think it's would be great if people did kind of tune into us and follow us, because we are doing some really cool things over here. We've got 5 scholarships to give away this year to individuals graduating from high school who want to seek higher education. That's nationwide scholarships that we're offering. So we're always doing something a little bit different. We're reinvesting in our people and in our families. And if that's kind of your particular brand of tea that you like to drink, come along on this
I don't think we mentioned it. Is Joyful Connections just something in a certain state? Is it nationwide? So those that are listening can understand where and how can I even get involved? Yeah.
So Joyful's only in Oregon. Maybe someday it'll be in another state. For now, it's only in Oregon. However, a lot of what we do when it comes to giving back to the communities we serve is nationwide. So, so there's my answer.
I love it. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jill, for having such an amazing conversation. Be authentically yourself and being such an amazing leader, taking risk. as a woman, I know it's not easy to get into some of these spaces, right? Because you see it all the time. Women are paid less. They're, sometimes under what, like, I want to say underlooked, but is that the word? Overlooked, not
Overlooked,
underlooked.
yeah.
Overlooked, underlooked, dummy. Overlooked, right? So there's so many things that you had to face and overcome. Continue to do what you're doing. There is a little girl that will continue to, I don't know if you have kids, I don't think we talked about it, but there's a little girl that would see who you are, will hear this story and say, man, if she did it, so can I. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's so amazing about these conversations, is that we're just having a great time. But there's really a story behind it, is that you took a risk. And when people counted you out a long time ago,
Yeah.
when you walked away from that table and people thought like, she'll be back, like she's crazy, you showed them that, yeah, I am pretty crazy. And look what crazy got me. Right. I love these stories. Jill. I love these stories. But we thank you guys for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys connect with Jill, Joyful Connections as well. Visit their websites, visit their social media, continue to connect. I really do believe this is bigger than just one little location. I think this is going to take over our nation. And I can't wait to have this conversation again. So thank you, Jill. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you guys do share, like, and comment. This has been Efrain on the Hart Hustle Podcast with another great leader in Jill. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks.
Later.